The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Very good afternoon to all the audience who have joined in to us. We're still waiting on some more of our audience from all over the world, but let us start with the webinar just now with whoever has joined us for now. So welcome everyone to this webinar. It's a new month and a new topic. As you can see, we have a really exciting topic for this month, which is regarding depot and charging management for electric buses. Of course, this is a heated topic, and I'm sure everybody must be really keen and interested in knowing about it. And we're really happy to see people joining in, not only from India, but all over the world. With that, I, Shravani, your host for today from WRI-India, welcome you in this webinar. So before I start, I'll give you a brief understanding of the mix of audience that we have. So we have people joining in, as I said earlier, from all over the world, from different, segments of the industry of electric mobility. For example, research, academia, bus and battery manufacturers, charging infrastructure manufacturers and bus operators, STUs, government, policymakers, finance institutions, etc. Just name it, and we have it. So I'm sure everyone must be having, something or the other to take away from this webinar's topic for today. So again, thank you all for joining us. Now I will be talking about a little bit for our webinar series regarding our project called the Electric Mobility Forum. So this project started in 2018 with the main idea or aim for awareness regarding electric mobility in India, and the main motivation was to accelerate the adoption of electric mobility. So for that, we did different kinds of steps and mechanisms to improve it, and one of them were webinars. And I think it is a great platform for now to meet each other virtually, of course, keeping the pandemic in mind. So this is probably our 14th, 15th webinar, and we've been doing such many exciting topics. You can check out our previous links in CityFixLearn and WRI-India website, where we have done many interesting topics like standardization, retrofitting, impact of charging technology on grid, etc. So we have them all in our website. So do feel free to check it out if you haven't done it already. So that is about Electric Mobility Forum project, and it is funded, it is supported by our kind supporters, the Shakti Sustainable Energy Foundation. And also, I would like to give my special thanks to Rohan Shailesh Modi, who has been actively supporting us in organizing these last two webinars and bringing international speakers, where we learn about different kinds of topics that is very essential to the Indian context and the audience. So Rohan is a German Chancellor Fellow at the moment, and he's been actively supporting us in doing so. That brings us to the topic for today, which you have already registered for, which is discussion on depot and charging management for electric buses. Now, I know that you have already logged in or registered yourself, knowing and looking about the key takeaways. But for those of you who haven't actually gotten a chance to look in depth regarding the takeaways, I will just, brief you about what are we going to learn from this webinar. So basically, we'll talk about, what is depot management, and, why is it important at all? I mean, I know a lot of people keep on talking about it. This is the heated topic, but are we actually aware of what is it and what are the key benefits of it at all? So we're going to learn about that. We'll also learn about the benefits of, integrated or integration between depot and charging management, and how it will give us different kinds of benefits in terms of utilizing our fleet better. We'll also learn about integrating the grid suppliers to ensure future and modern grid management. Apart from that, we'll be talking about many other interesting topics which are not listed down in the key 4 takeaways. So do, stay tuned in for us throughout the webinar. And that brings us to the speaker for today. And we are very, very fortunate to have the speaker for today, which is Mr. Eric Nöh, and he's a head of sales of public transport in PSI Transcom GmbH. Now, I'll be giving a little bit introduction or background of our esteemed speaker for today. I know I won't be doing such justice or such a long years of career for him, but I'll still try to, brief up a little bit of introduction about his background. So Eric is the sales manager at Berlin-based PSI Transcom GmbH that supplies control technology solutions for public transport. Eric studied industrial engineering at TU Berlin, and after which he worked for GSP, Sprague Technology, DB Vehicle Maintenance, as a sales manager and key account manager for the international railroad and public transport market. And now, since October 2017, he has been responsible for international sales of ABMS and depot management systems at PSI Transcom GmbH. So we are really, really excited to hear about his experiences, and we're really glad that he has taken out the time to throw light on such important and relevant topic for us today. So thank you, Eric, for joining us. Now, because it is a very important topic, unlike other webinars, I won't be taking much time and quickly jump into the most boring part of the webinar, which is the logistical part. So firstly, about question and answers. So we all know that it is a 1 hour one hour session where we'll be having our presentation and also our question and answer round. So I would like to thank each and every one of you who has sent us such amazing questions. And we'll be trying to take all of them in this webinar. But I apologize beforehand if we miss out on some of the questions, because of course, about the time restrictions. Apart from that, I know that, like during the course of the webinar, you'll be having many other questions that'll be popping up in your head. So I request you to please keep sending us messages or questions in the questions box and not in the chat box, because by doing that, I'll be able to see your name and your organization, and later on I can send it to the speaker, and he'll be sending us over the answers back, and we'll be updating you guys about the queries as public queries. Number 2 is if you are worried that your internet connectivity is horrible at the moment and you have forgotten to take photos or pictures of the presentation or notes, don't worry about it, because we'll be having the whole video and the presentation uploaded in the same link that you have registered for, via registering for this webinar. So you'll be getting an update in a week or so. And if you miss out on that update, please do feel free to reach out to me at, where to reach out at. It's shravani.sharma@wri.org. And hopefully we'll be having that at place within no time. So now, before handing it over to our speaker, I welcome you all once again, and I hope it will be a great learning journey for all of us, including me. So over to you, Eric, and good luck. So I'm making you the presenter just now.
Okay, thank you, Shravani. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. So it's a pleasure for me hosting and speaking at this webinar today. So welcome everybody. Welcome from my humble home office here in Berlin. So it's a pleasure to welcome you from all around the world. As Shravani already introduced me and the topic of my webinar today, I would like to share our experience in the field of electric mobility, and to share some experience about the advantages when you combine the depot with the charging management system. So just let me introduce our company. So our mother company is the PSI Software AG. is a large corporation with which is having 2,000 employees around the world, doing 200 million euros turnover. And we are noted as a German stock exchange, having a lot of offices all around the world. And as already introduced, PSI software is doing mainly control softwares for all kinds of industries. So PSI is active in the mining industry, in managing gas, oil, water networks, and is in the logistics industry, in the automotive industry. So there are several applications which are using PSI software. So under the umbrella of this strong mother, it's us, PSI Transcom GmbH, which I am representing. So we are the specialist for control systems in the public transport. We're on the market now for around 40 years, and that is giving us a long time with having a lot of experience, a lot of projects realized. As you can see from the beautiful skyline of the picture in the background, so we are also based in Berlin, where the headquarters of our company is. So that's why I'm speaking here from my home office in Berlin. So what are we doing? We have our unique software platform, which is called PSI Traffic. PSI Traffic is a modular software which has a lot of applications and can be configured just according to your needs. So we have the ITCS or AVL system managing your vehicles when they're in service. So we have a train management system as well. We have the depot management system, which I will be talking about in more details today. And we have also a solution to manage the staff, the personnel as well. So the approach is that we manage all the main assets, meaning your vehicles and personnel, with just one unique software solution. Okay, let's continue with our depot management system. So a depot management system. Why should you think about a depot management system? When I was traveling around and having a lot of meetings with several customers, I noticed these wonderful applications, and all of the customers were telling me, hey, Eric, we are already having a depot management system. So I'm quite confident that you will remember or recognize these nice tools, which could be called a DMS. So one customer was also proud of having a three-dimensional DMS like these magnetic flip charts, but is this state of the art in a modern digital world? And furthermore, how does this cope with electrical buses when you have to consider state of charging, different constraints of these new technologies? So I think you will agree with me that at least this is a reason to think about a modern IT tool which will support you better doing your operation. But a depot management system is not only dedicated for electrical buses, it has several more applications to support and manage your depot operations already right now. So when you have a lot of constraints or problems to manage your depot operation, for example, that you have a lot of shunting applications, yet that you have too much paperwork, that you have to monitor multiple depots, or even if you have high penalties to be paid when some blocks are cancelled. So if you need more transparency and more flexibility of all your processes around the depot, that you have maybe a shortage of resources. So all these questions leads you to the answer. You might think about a depot management system, which could help you to become more efficient and better with your depot operations. So these are some learnings or some savings we have achieved with our solution at our customers. So a depot management system can definitely help you to reduce the refueling tasks, definitely reduces the costs for incidents when you have some canceled trips. So it helps you to manage the signing in of the drivers. It helps you when searching the vehicles. It reduces the cost for shunting. And finally, definitely the approach is to utilize your fleet best. So in order to cut down the amount of reserve vehicles you might need to ensure a smooth and reliable operation. How can we do it? So what are the modules and functionalities of a depot management system? So the depot management system covers all the processes and all the functionalities you have in your depot. So the DMS starts to track and recognize the vehicle when it is entering the depot. So we start with the vehicle identification, the assignment of the parking lots. We manage the workshop and resupply processes. Definitely the heart of the software is the allocation to blocks, so the dispatching. We have a quality management, so to report statistics, etc. We inform the driver. We include definitely the charging management I will be talking about later on. And our software definitely is cloud capable, so it's up to you if our software run on a premise installation or in the cloud. Both ways are possible. So starting with the first function or module of our DMS. So that's the vehicle identification. For sure, the vehicle identification can be done via various technologies. As we are a software company, we are definitely open to use different hardwares or different other systems in order to fulfill these functionalities. Just the idea is with a vehicle identification system that we have a precise and exact information which vehicle is approaching to the depot and where the vehicle are parked. Furthermore, we can use this technology in order to have a data communication to the buses. So just in order to download some diagnostic information from the bus, and furthermore to control or trigger the preconditioning, meaning to switch on the heating or the cooling systems automatically. Furthermore, it helps you to have a graphic overview about all the vehicles, and it can be broadcasted to all your users. On the bottom, on the right side, you see an example what we have analyzed together with the customer. What are the advantages when you use a positioning system and have a more precise overview about where your vehicles are parked in your yard. So when we know the vehicle which is approaching to the depot and we have recognized, okay, what is the number of the bus, our system starts with the logic in order to assign the right parking lot to the vehicle, which means for the electrical buses also to decide which charging station should this bus use. So there are different technologies to inform the driver about its parking position. We can use exterior displays like this, or if we have a communication to the HMI of the driver, we can also display it here in order to show the driver, okay, you have to park your bus on spot number 9. So this definitely enables us that the bus driver can directly enter the depot. There is no need to wait at the gate to do some checks with some of your managers. So automatically the driver knows where he should park the vehicle best. The next functionality or the next module of our software is the integration of workshop tasks. So this definitely helps you to have an efficient planning of the operation. So if you have in the DMS a complete overview about what are the cycle-based upcoming checkups of your vehicles, and if you have an import of the reported failures and defects of the vehicle, it definitely helps you and helps also your workshop staff in order to have a clear overview about which vehicle has which defect, where is the vehicle parked. So, and furthermore, the dispatcher will know, okay, which vehicle is down to some workshop repairs and is not available for the dispatching. So with integrating these functionalities together, both sides, the dispatching and the workshop side, have the same overview, the same information out of the system, knows which vehicle is available or which vehicle is down due to some defects. So what we are doing with the maintenance and repair tasks, we do the same with all the resupply tasks. We have a software logic implemented in order to optimize the refueling schemes of your buses. So in order, when we consider the current tank status of the vehicles, we can assign vehicles best to the next block. So in order to find a logic that there is no need to refuel each bus every day. So the system can help you to refuel buses maybe only every second or every third day. Furthermore, we can establish some interfaces to the charge management for sure, provide some special terminals in order to manage the resupply tasks done by your service staff, etc. And when you know already in advance in your system when a vehicle needs some cleaning, needs some refueling, etc., these tasks can be marked so that the dispatcher knows when a vehicle is not available for the next block because there is some intensive cleaning or washing necessary to be done and the vehicle will be not available for the next hours. So, as I mentioned at the beginning, the central or core functionality of our software is definitely the dispatching, meaning the automatic block assignment. Our system uses the equalization optimization kernel with artificial intelligence, which is a unique software kernel used by all PSI software. And this software has a strength to consider a lot of criterions and a lot of constraints. So it can do a multi-criterial optimization in order to find the solution. The logic is fast, so it will always find a solution just within seconds. So there is no need to wait minutes or hours to have a new dispatching result. So it comes quickly out of the system whenever you trigger it. So the system is prepared to do all these things fully automatically. So in order to support the dispatcher best, in order to make its work much more easier, just by helping him with the automatic redispatching, just in case that there are some cases with causes some interruptions to your operation. So finally, it gives you definitely the help that when you have multiple depots and you would like to have an overview at a glance, you can see. This is just an example here taken from one of our projects where we have 6 depots from one operator, and just depending on your screen size, you can monitor also 6 depots at a glance. And so that means that you can use one central control room to manage your entire fleet, your entire operation, regardless where the depots are and how many depots you might have. Finally, when we have all this information in our system, the most important part is to inform the drivers. So we have a driver information screen, which can be shown on a normal TFT screen. You could use it in our app on a tablet or mobile phone. So the idea is to inform the driver when he or she signs in that the driver gets information, okay, what is the trip I'm assigned to? So when do I have to leave the depot? What is the assigned trip number I have to do? What is my duty? Where do I have to drive to? And especially which vehicle have I to take? So the which vehicle was dispatched by the system automatically to me, and what is the spot where is the vehicle parked? So the driver has all the information he needs when signing in with his duty and can immediately go to the noted spot, pick up the vehicle and start his journey quickly and easily. So how can our system integrate with your existing and current IT landscape? So our strength is that we create interfaces to all your existing systems. So there's no need to replace all your IT infrastructure with a PSI software. No, our approach is that we integrate us and create necessary interfaces in order to make the best out of your existing system. So it are definitely the planning systems for the timetable and duty rostering. We could have interfaces to different ERP systems, AVL systems, gate control systems, and so on. So it's project depending which interfaces make sense and which systems you might have in use already. Finally, what are the benefits of using a DMS? So the DMS definitely helps you to increase the vehicle availability, have a transparency of all the processes and transparency to all the users which are using the system, cut down the costs of fueling processes, reserve vehicles, etc. So finally, just to optimize all the benefits or optimize the full management of your depot operation. So continuing with our upgrade of this solution towards electrical buses, towards electrical mobility, let's talk about our PSI eBus solution, which includes the charging management as well. So when talking about the combination of depot and charging management, I can talk about a very good reference we already have in place. So we have realized together with the operator in Hamburg, a large city in Germany, the operator is called Hamburger Hochbahn and is a very long customer to us. And we have done with an intensive workshops the pilot project together with them to set up a full depot management system with a charging management system. And yeah, we can combine it in one solution, and the system is running. It's running in Hamburg now for almost 2 years. And this is the evidence that, the things I'm talking about, that's not an idea. It's not theoretically, so it's also practically, and it's already live in place. So what was the starting point in order to start this discussion with Hamburg? So it was a clear mission and a clear strategy set by the mayor of Hamburg that as of 2020, Hamburg will procure only emission-free buses. So this was a clear message, a clear strategy coming from the politicians, and which has to be realized by the transport operator Hochbahn. It was a huge challenge in order to have a mixed fleet moving away from the just diesel vehicles. And the idea was to have until 2030 only emission-free buses in Hamburg. So we talk about the change or the transmission of an entire fleet of around 1,000 vehicles within just 10 years. So it was a huge challenge, but the project is still ongoing. At the moment, 76 charging stations are active, 2 depots are equipped. Hamburg built a totally new depot, which you can see here. It's a brand new depot opened last year, and this is dedicated only for electrical buses. You see different carports, and it's designed to house up to 240 electrical buses. So currently, Hamburg is operating 60 electrical buses. 500 are already procured and will put into service within the next 5 years, and the remaining 500 vehicles will follow in the 5 years afterwards. So what are the challenges when you are transforming your fleet from diesel buses to electric buses? I think the biggest challenge is the reduced range and the mileage electrical bus can drive. Furthermore, you have to think about remanagement or a different organization of all your depot processes. And the diesel depot, you have the refueling and servicing, which is done at a several point separate from the parking point. In an electrical depot, you have the resupply, meaning the charging at the place where the bus is parked. So meaning you have to think about how should I park and assign the vehicle to the charging stations already when they're driving into the depot, because there's no need and no idea to move them around afterwards just for refueling because they are standing at the charging station for hours. Furthermore, the charging takes a long time. So charging a bus takes more than 2 or 4 hours, depending on your chargers. So you have to consider this significant time to refuel your buses. A diesel bus could be refueled just within 5 to 10 minutes. The tank is full and the bus can start its journey. But this is not applicable anymore for the electrical buses. So furthermore, what are the additional challenges when introducing electrical buses? So you have to build up the charging infrastructure at the depot, which will mean some significant and severe construction works which needs to be undertaken. You have to consider the limited battery range, and the range or the mileage a bus can drive will depend and will be influenced by a lot of factors like the track profile, the distances, the driving behavior, traffic flow, heating, air conditioning, outside temperature, so etc. Furthermore, when you introduce the electrical buses and build up your charging infrastructure, you will maybe challenged by the limited connecting power from the electrical grid to your depot, so that you have a limited supply of energy which needs to be taken into account for the charging management. So how is our PSI eBus solution working? So we have two parts of the software. So I start with the left part of the software, which is the DMS. So the DMS is continuously checking the status of the batteries, and it's already considering all the necessary information to do the automatic block dispatching and planning as I've described before. The DMS is responsible for placing the vehicle at the right charging station. So it is responsible for the parking management. Furthermore, it uses or utilizes the charging stations best. It has the necessary information what we need to take into account when planning the parking and dispatching of the vehicle. Furthermore, the DMS is triggering the preconditioning, so meaning it is capable to switch on the heating and cooling system of the buses fully automatically. The DMS has an online interface to the smart charging system, which is a charge management system. The charging management system takes care about all the aspects coming from the electrical side, coming from the grid. So it makes a forecast of the daily energy demand. It considers and takes into account some constraints coming from the grid in order to use and utilizes your energy supply best to charge the buses. Furthermore, it can take into account different pricing schemes coming from the grid supply, etc., in order to have not only a peak shaving when charging the buses, but also to cut down the cost for the energy supply. So furthermore, I already mentioned that there is a big need of data when managing the charging. So why it is so important to have a lot of data in our system? So the idea behind is that our dispatching algorithm is an artificial based optimization kernel, and it can predict the energy consumption of a bus. So therefore we need some data which you can take into account when predicting how many energy will a bus need for the next trip. So this is very important and very helpful for you when you would like to utilize your fleet best and make the best out of the electrical buses, that you know, okay, when I use this bus on this trip with this outside temperature and maybe this driving conditions, then I get a forecast from the system how many energy will need the bus. And the charging management system furthermore will adjust the charging just independence of the forecast the DMS has done, so that the buses will be charged only up to the needed amount of energy that is really needed for the next trip the bus will be assigned to. So how is our PSI eBus system working? Assuming a bus which is coming back from its journey, driving back to the depot, sending the needed data like state of charge somehow to a server. The DMS will have access to the server. The DMS for sure will have the needed vehicle master data so that we know, okay, which is the manufacturer of the bus, how old is the bus, what type of battery do we have, so meaning what is the capacity of the battery, etc. Furthermore, the DMS knows all the available blocks, so meaning which trip has been served by the bus and what are potential blocks to which the bus could be assigned to. So taking this information into account and having the information about what is going on in the depot, meaning is there a free charging station, and maybe knowing what type of chargers do you have. You could have slow chargers or you have some fast charging station. The DMS takes into account what charging station is available just in order to make the selection and the parking assignment of the bus, so to inform the driver where to park at which charging station. Then the DMS is creating a charging plan. You can call it also a charging strategy or a list of priority, which buses needs to be charged first, or in which order the buses needs to be charged, what is the needed energy demand of the buses, etc. All this is transferred via an online interface to the smart charging system. the smart charging system observes definitely the grid. So knowing what is the available amount of energy at the grid, what are, for example, the cost of the energy, are there some other restrictions, we could have some interfaces to your transformers on your depot in order to consider, okay, what amount of energy is really available at your depot. So then the smart charging system checks if the transmitted charging plan from the DMS can be realized or not. So as I've explained, this is an online interface, so there is a continuous exchange of data between those systems. So that will definitely help you when you automate the processes for charging and dispatching. So the smart charging is replying always in time to the DMS if there is a problem with charging processes, or if this charging plan created by the DMS can't be realized. So this will result in a fault recognized by the DMS that the DMS can do the redispatching and react on it. The result could be that the DMS switches the priority of the buses, or finally it could maybe assign a diesel bus to a trip when an electrical bus couldn't be charged on time. So finally, if the charging plan could be realized, the smart charging is responsible for triggering all the charging stations and managing the charging process. It's observed and reports back to the DMS that the charging has been done, and reports back the current state of charge, so that the DMS could assign an appropriate block to the bus, which could be realized by this bus just depending on the current state of change the bus has reached. So how could the system look like? This is an example of our smart charging system. It looks a little bit complicated, but finally it gives you all the necessary information which might be needed by, for example, your dispatchers, or also from your technical staff, which needs to observe all the infrastructure. So what is shown on the system? The system starts with the on top that we have an interface to your main trafo providing the energy supply to your depot, so that you know, okay, which amount of energy is available at your trafo, which amount of energy is currently in use, and which amount of energy is currently available to do your charging processes or to charge the buses. Then you have a detailed overview about each charging process. So you see which bus is assigned to which charging station, and you can receive, depending on the charging station, if it will provide this information, a lot of status information. So like the heartbeat, if the charging station is working, but if the charging station provides some error codes, that could be displayed here as well. So just in order to have one system to monitor and to observe all the processes going on with the charging of your buses. So another much more simple overview could be that one which we are using at Keolis in Paris, so that you have a colorful overview about the depot, and that the colors will indicate the status and the ongoing charging process of the buses. Another example, which is taken from our project in Hamburg, is that you have a much more detailed overview about each bus and the charging station, so that you could see the information, okay, what is going on with the dedicated charging station, what is the process, etc. So what are the key learnings which we have taken from our already realized project? So depot management systems definitely helps you to cut down operating costs for all type of buses. Our DMS is definitely assigned to multiple fleets with different propulsion systems. So it's not only dedicated for diesel buses or electrical buses. So we have a lot of customers which are using other buses with other propulsion systems, like fuel cells, like hydrogen, hybrid buses, etc. So this all kinds of different buses could be incorporated into our system. Furthermore, our software is definitely independent from all hardware suppliers. So we have done different checkups and have checked our interoperability with different bus manufacturers, with different charging station manufacturers, so that you can use our software with different types of hardware. Furthermore, I hope that I've done a good presentation in order to highlight the advantages when you combine the depot and the charging management system together in one system. The advantage definitely is that charging management system and the dispatching needs to be combined in one system, so that you could react on both sides, that maybe from the operational side something changed, or from the charging process something changed, and that the system can react on both incoming factors immediately and hopefully automatically. And our system is already capable to be integrated with the grid suppliers, so that we are able to take into account all the information coming from the grid and providing back necessary information to your grid management, so that the grid supplier could have a detailed overview as maybe requested or demanded, in order to know what is going in your depot. The reason is, when you charge a lot of buses in your depot, you consume a big amount of energy with your depot. So I'm quite confident that your grid supplier is interested what is going on in your depot, in order to have some control information in order to take it into account when managing the entire grid of the city or of a region. So what are the benefits from our PSI eBus solution, meaning the combining of a depot and charging management system? So as I said, the system is already running successfully, so I can proudly talk about the existing solution, which is available to be installed in any future projects. So the idea of our system is that we monitor the charging and manage the charging best, in order that we have a logic that not every bus needs to be charged at the same time, and not that all buses needs to be charged with a full capacity. Due to the fact that we have the prediction of the energy consumption for the next trip, we can adjust the charging so that the bus is only charged with that amount of energy that is really needed for the next trip. That definitely helps you to minimize the amount of energy you need, and meaning we can adjust the charging also depending on the constraints coming from the grid. So that the charging is done just as needed, and also net expended, so just considering what is coming from the grid. So we have done a lot of projects, we have a lot of references. Okay, we have many references in Germany, but all across Europe we have done several projects. And just to highlight all these customers in green, where we are dealing with electrical buses and charging management. There is a Hochbahn, the operator from Hamburg, which I was talking about. There's a GVB, the big operator of Amsterdam in the Netherlands. We have Keolis, the private French-based public transport operator, where we are managing a depot full of electrical buses close to Paris in France. So as you see, there is still some space that I would be delighted to put also your logo within our reference list. So maybe just to give you some further information about the realized project. So I have already talked about the project in Hamburg, but just to give you some further information. So Hamburg already has and use almost 1,000 buses, and the fleet will severely increase over the next years, because they will need more buses. The transport system is growing, so the fleet will further grow. They have 6 depots right now. 7th depot is already in planning, and they are already considering to build an 8th depot. So our system is running there now for 8 years. It will continue to grow for the next years. So as I've said, all the functionalities I was talking about over the last slides, they are already in place. They are all functioning, and they are in use by our customer in Hamburg. Also, we have, just as an example, the GVB, which is a big public transport operator in Amsterdam. in the Netherlands. They have a big fleet of buses and trams, so our system is capable to manage all type of fleets. So regardless if you have buses, trams, metros, it doesn't matter. And we can combine all these different types of vehicles in one system. And in Amsterdam, we don't have only buses and trams, we also have some ferries, and we have the metros which are observed in our system. So here in Amsterdam, we have realized a combined system of the AVL and the DMS system. And yes, this is underlining that our modular system can be adjusted towards the needs of the customer and can grow over the time. So just to give you some testimonials about the happy customers in Hamburg which are using our system. The bus driver is definitely happy and proud that the system ensures that he knows where the vehicles are parked, that everything is perfectly cleaned and maintained, so that he will always enter a clean bus which is preheated and he can easily, convenient start his journey. So I have a technical problem to move over to the next slide. I'm sorry. What is the reason? I don't know. Okay, sorry for that. Let's continue. The dispatcher definitely is happy that he has experienced that by using our DMS, his daily work becomes much more easier. So he has much more time to serve the drivers, to help the passengers, because all the dispatching work is done automatically by the system. So the employee from the supply task is happy about using our system because he knows in advance which vehicle is approaching, what are the tasks he has to do, and he only needs to refuel the buses when it is needed. That definitely saves a lot of time for him. Yeah, and talking also about the workshop manager, he definitely is happy that with the interface and using our DMS, he can react quickly about the malfunctions coming and reported by the system, so that he knows in advance when the vehicle will approach the workshop, what are the next tasks, and that he can report immediately back to the dispatcher which task has been fulfilled and what is the current status of the vehicle. And finally, the vehicles are only in the workshop as long as they need to be there. Okay, yeah, sorry for the technical problems, but thank you for attending this webinar, and I'm happy and hopefully had the good chance to share our experience with you. So if you have any further questions in the future, please feel free to contact me. And I just would highlight to have a look onto our homepage on our website. I've put here a link to a wonderful movie which we have produced together with our operator in Hamburg. And this is a 5-minute movie which will show you how our system is in operation in Hamburg, and that you can experience and learn about all the features, the functionalities, the advantages of our system as it is running in Hamburg. Okay, thank you for attending, and now I'm available and happy to answer all the wonderful questions that are coming from the audience.
Thank you so much, Eric. This was a very, very useful and interesting presentation. You very well explained the technical bits and pieces of it, and also regarding your challenges and experiences with your company. And personally, I love the part where you have given testimonials, which means that, like in any of the organization, it is very important that you acknowledge how the services are being availed. So I see that, like this management system has really benefited in efficiently managing the time and resources of the people, whoever is using it. So thank you once again for simplifying this vast topic in such snackable form. Now let's jump into the questions, because we're getting some really, really interesting questions. Let us try to see how many of them can we take. So the first question, Eric, is How does the proposed depot management and charging software incorporate legacy depot management and scheduling software? Over to you.
Okay, yeah, just to answer it, I will jump to a next slide. That's the right one. So as I've mentioned, we have a modular software. So our software has different functionalities, meaning different modules. And just depending on what kind of software you already have in use, so meaning if yeah, the AVL system, planning system, workshop management system, or whatever there are, we create the necessary interface. We rely on standard interfaces. So that at the beginning of a project, we would like to do an analysis to know, okay, which systems we have, which interfaces needs to be created, and our system can be integrated in your IT landscape, yeah, just in order to connect all the the existing systems from your side and to make the best of the available data.
Brilliant, thank you. That brings us to the next question. This person wants to know if there are at all any IP protocols for chargers, and if yes, please explain the IP protocols for chargers.
Okay, yeah, that's a wonderful and very technically detailed question, but I would like to answer it briefly with the next slide here. As I have mentioned, there are different communication ways. So we trust and rely on the ISO 15118 protocol as a communication between the buses and the charger. And then there is the OCPP 1.6 protocol, which is the connection between the chargers and our gateway. Our gateway uses the communication towards some cloud operation from your charging management, from your chargers. If there is a cloud, some chargers provides this. But furthermore, we have significant and important interfaces to the grid supplier, which I've mentioned, so that we can connect to your transformers, and finally to connect these systems with the charging management. Additionally, as I've mentioned, our system is prepared to trigger the preheating, meaning the preconditioning in the vehicles, and therefore we have a different communication which is done via this BDV 261 protocol, which is, it's a German standard, but hopefully it will become much more popular around the world because it's the first time this interface was standard and standardized how to do this communication.
That's a perfect answer. Bring to the next question. So there are like 3 questions combined together. So the first thing is that how to cope up with summer temperature during charging. So this is, of course, a very relevant question to Indian context as well, because, you know, the temperature gets really extreme during the summers, like 48 degrees. Then the next part of the question is also how to ensure scheduled opportunity charging. And again, that person asks how to automate and confirm that the buses go out for a trip with proper cleaning and healthy state. So shooting all the 3 questions to you all at once. Over to you.
Yes, so I try to remember all of them. So just start with the preconditioning, with the preheating. So I already jumped back to this slide when I mentioned that the DMS was responsible to consider all this information. So the DMS has an interface, for example, to a weather forecast station, so that we take into account outside temperature. We have the interface to the charging station in order to measure the current temperature on site in order to manage the charging. And furthermore, the system is prepared to trigger the preconditioning, meaning that our system switches just on time the preheating or cooling system of the bus, just depending when the trip starts. So there was a next question about the opportunity charging. Just maybe let me go to this way. There was a question about how to incorporate the opportunity charging along the journey. So as I've mentioned, our software consists of two modules. So the depot management system, in our opinion, is responsible for all the tasks at the depot, and it's up to the AVL system to monitor the buses when they are in service. And that means that the AVL system takes care about the ongoing charging processes when you use opportunity charging along the track. And yeah, our AVL system monitors this so that the dispatcher gets some warning messages if a bus missed a charging station, the charging process fails, etc. So there was another question about yeah, how we can ensure that each resupply task has been performed. The idea is that we could provide some terminals to your resupply task. It could be a terminal, but it could be also an app that could be used on a tablet, so that the supply task confirms which job they have been done, and yeah, when which vehicle were served, so that the dispatcher knows, okay, and sees in the system all tasks has been performed. Furthermore, our system can create a separate list or can do a selection of several vehicles, yeah, as a suggestion for a foreman to do a double check in order to ensure that your supply task, supply people has performed this job. Then you have a double check, and that can be also transferred into the system, so that the dispatcher always knows, okay, the vehicles are yeah, well maintained in a good condition to do the service.
Thank you, Eric. It was very beautifully explained. That brings us to the next question, which is, what are the key performance indicators for depot-based charging or benchmarks for effective operations? Okay,
yeah, another good question. Let me jump back to that question, or to that slide. Yeah, with these savings, we definitely can underline a lot of key KPIs you might have from your management or you might have from your PTA. So finally, the question is, what are the, let me say, pains you get from the PTA? What are the, for example, penalties you have when you miss or a block has been cancelled? And our DMS definitely supports you in order to ensure that you never miss a trip, that all buses are in the good condition, that you manage all the blocks. And I think the biggest saving and the biggest KPI of the system is the availability of your fleet, the utilization of the fleet, the yeah, the number of missed trips, etc. So there are a lot of more KPIs you could set up, and our system, yeah, provides you the right reports that you have an overview that all the KPIs you might set up are fulfilled.
Okay, thanks, Eric. That brings us to the last question. We still have time for another one, but let's see how this goes. So the last question is how to manage on-the-run fleet and charging infrastructure integration.
Okay, yeah, maybe let me answer it with this slide. As I've said, our system is designed to cover all type of propulsion systems. So you will start with a significant fleet of diesel buses and will introduce electrical buses step by step. So our system covers both types of buses, and the idea is that finally you have in our system different type of buses, and when you will start to to dispatch the electrical buses to the blocks, I think it's a clever approach to consider the shortest trips you have already. When you look to your trips you have to fulfill with the buses, you have maybe a range from 100 kilometers up to 400 or 500 kilometers a bus will drive a day. And I think you should start with the shorter trips and assign the electrical buses to those. And when you have all the data in the system, finally, it doesn't matter if it is a diesel bus, electrical bus, a hydrogen or fuel cell bus, because the DMS will take care about that always the right bus is assigned to the right block. Finally, the most important criteria is that the bus has the right or has a sufficient capacity that he can manage, or the bus can manage the trip. So meaning electrical bus will never be dispatched to a long trip of 500 kilometers, which definitely exceeds the capacity of the battery. And those long trips will be served with diesel buses, and the electrical buses will be dispatched only to those trips where the capacity of the battery is sufficient to manage it.
Thank you so much, Eric. Unfortunately, that brings us to the end of the webinar because we are out of time. So I'll just finish this webinar off by giving my heartiest thanks to Eric and his organization and team, whoever has supported him. Thank you for taking out your time and throwing light on such wonderful topics regarding the same. I would also like to thank Rohan for helping us throughout this journey, for organizing this webinar and reaching out to Eric, of course. Also to our kind supporters, Shakti, and most importantly to our wonderful audience, as always, without whom these webinar series wouldn't have been so successful. I would like to end this webinar by reminding you of the technical things, is that this webinar's video and the presentation will be uploaded on the same link as you have registered for in a week or two. You'll be getting a notification of the same. In the meanwhile, if you have any questions for Eric, you know where to reach out to him. Also, for any suggestions or feedback for us, please reach out to me at shravani.sharma@wri.org. Alternatively, you can also reach out to me via LinkedIn. So this brings us to the end. Eric, do you have any parting words for us?
Thank you also from my side, Shravani. It was a good, you have been a good moderator. It was a pleasure being part of this webinar. It was a pleasure sharing my experience with you, and it would be a pleasure for me if you have learned a lot of things which you could use maybe in the future to think about how to maybe to optimize your operation. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me.
Definitely, Eric. I think it was really, really a wonderful learning experience for all of us, because electric buses are still like a hot topic for us in India, and I'm sure you'll be flooded with emails in the coming few months from most of the Indian audience. So thanks once again. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, audience, and see you next time. Cheers. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Take care. Bye-bye.